And we are out of recess and back on record. And again, we're considering and hearing testimony on bill number 36-0221. At this time, we'll go to the Assistant Commissioner of Finance, Ms. Modeste Elliott, for her testimony.
Good afternoon, Finance Committee Chairman, Senator Naviel E. Francis, Vice Chairman, Senator Marvin A. Blyden, other committee and non-committee members present, and the people of this territory listening and viewing today. I am Clarina Modeste Elliott, Executive Assistant Commissioner, testifying on behalf of Kevin McCurdy, Commissioner of the Department of Finance. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Bill number 36-0221. At the outset, I would like to commend the sponsor and this committee for proactively addressing the persistent and serious issue of impaired driving, which continues to pose significant risk to public safety and imposes substantial human, operational, and economic costs on the government of the Virgin Islands. Impaired driving affects not only the individuals involved, but also strains public resources through increased emergency response costs, healthcare expenditures, roadway damage, and long-term public health impacts. This legislation represents a thoughtful and necessary step toward mitigating those costs while improving roadway safety for residents and visitors alike. Bill number 36-0221 establishes a comprehensive sobriety checkpoint program requiring the conduct of at least 12 sobriety checkpoints annually across the territory. The bill further creates the Impaired Driving and Highway Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund, a dedicated non-lapsing special fund within the territory. The legislation directs fines collected under Title 20, Section 493 into this fund and establishes clear allocation percentages, operational standards, and reporting requirements. Collectively, these provisions are designed to strengthen and impaired driving enforcement, support traffic control operations, and advance highway safety initiatives in a transparent and accountable manner. Bill number 36-0221 establishes the Safety Fund as a dedicated, non-lapsing special fund administered by the Department of Finance in collaboration with the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety and other relevant agencies. The Department of Finance is fully prepared to fulfill its statutory responsibilities under this framework. The creation of a dedicated fund strengthens fiscal transparency by directly linking fine revenues to impaired driving enforcement and highway safety expenditures. This structure promotes targeted investment in enforcement operations, public awareness initiatives, and evidence-based safety programs while reducing reliance on general fund appropriations for these specific purposes. To further enhance operational clarity and accountability, the Department of Finance recommends the use of formal interagency memoranda of understanding to clearly define roles, responsibilities, and data sharing protocols among participating agencies. While the establishment of a dedicated fund provides an important and reliable funding mechanism, it is important to recognize that revenues derived from fine collections are inherently variable. Collections may fluctuate based on enforcement levels and adjudication timeline, compliance rate, and importantly, improvements in driver behavior. As impaired driving declines, revenues may also decrease. The Department of Finance fully supports the bill's reporting requirements and commits to providing comprehensive, timely, and auditable reports to the legislature. To ensure effective implementation and statutory compliance, the Department of Finance will establish appropriate accounting control, fund codes, and reconciliation procedures consistent with generally accepted accounting principles and audit requirements. Successful implementation will require close coordination among the Department of Finance, the Virgin Islands Police Department, the Office of Highway Safety, the Bureau of Motor Vehicle, and the Judiciary. In closing, the Department of Finance wholeheartedly supports the intent and objective of Bill number 36-0221. This legislation represents a balanced, data-driven, and fiscally responsible approach to reducing impaired driving and enhancing highway safety throughout the territory. With prudent revenue planning, robust internal controls, coordinated interagency implementation, and ongoing legislative oversight, the Impaired Driving and Highway Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund can serve as an effective and sustainable tool to save lives, reduce accident, and promote safer roadways for all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to present this testimony. I welcome any question and look forward to continued collaboration on this critical public safety initiative.
Thank you very much, Ms. Modest, Assistant Commissioner Modest Elliott, for your testimony. Next, we will recognize Ms. Daphne O'Neill, Director of Office of Highway Safety, for her testimony.
Good afternoon to the Chair, the Honorable Novelli Francis Jr., Legislative Body and staff, members of the VIPD team, and to the listening and viewing audience. My name is Daphne O'Neill, Director of the Office of Highway Safety for the United States Virgin Islands Police Department. I come before you on behalf of Police Commissioner Mario M. Brooks to discuss an act amending Title 20, Virgin Islands Code, Part 2, Chapter 43, Subchapter 1, Section 43, relating to alcohol consumption, and to establish the Impaired Driving and Highway Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund. Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the Senate, thank you for the opportunity to testify today on this matter. On behalf of the VIPD, we respectfully submit this testimony in support of Bill number 36-021, proposed by Senator Ray Fonseca. This bill aims to establish a sobriety checkpoint program to detect and deter violations of VI Code Section 43, Section 493, Chapter 43. The program suggests that VIPD conduct no fewer than 12 sobriety checkpoints each calendar year with a specific number of checkpoints for each island, and 2 data-driven checkpoint deployments. The VIPD would be required to follow standard operating procedures when the sobriety initiatives are planned. During said initiatives, VIPD would be authorized to partner with local and/or federal enforcement agencies or any other agency it deems necessary. There must also be coordination with the VIPD's Office of Highway Safety Unit. Further requirement for the VIPD would be an annual report regarding prior fiscal year's Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund initiatives, and it will be due on December 1st. VIPD supports this bill as it correlates to the passage of Bill number 36-0123, also sponsored by Senator Fonseca. The proposal to dedicate fees collected from impaired driving traffic infractions to the Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund to a separate and distinct non-lapsing special fund is favorable. When established, the fund will support traffic control operations, the dedicated sobriety checkpoint program, and augment funding for the programs approved in the Office of Highway Safety annual traffic safety plans. The VIPD will support any additional funding source which will assist in addressing the impaired driving infractions throughout the territory. VIPD supports this bill because in fiscal year 2023, the territory recorded 2 fatalities resulting from driving under the influence. The related crashes, under the influence related crashes. In fiscal year 2024, there was 1 DUI-related fatality, and in fiscal year 2025, there was 1 potentially recorded. The VIPD is still awaiting the lab results for this fatality. The department was able to meet its established goals to reduce impaired driving crashes using a combination of education, outreach, and high visibility enforcement to reduce impaired driving crashes 20 to 25% from the fiscal year 2023 high figure of 101. Fiscal year 2024 decreased to 80, and fiscal year 2025 decreased to 73. Unfortunately, with one fatality in fiscal year 24 and 25, the work continues for the territory to decrease and maintain impaired driving fatalities to zero. Adopting the recommended changes in Bill 36-0221 will provide funding dedicated to support and meet these objectives. Territory-level traffic data indicates modest improvements, but also underline the need for continued action. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, data underscores the lethality of alcohol-impaired driving. NHTSA's analysis shows that thousands of deaths each year tied to alcohol-impaired crashes. Therefore, any action taken which reduces impairment on the road saves lives. Legislative action and funding are the strongest tools available to protect the citizens and visitors in the territory. In fiscal year 2025, the VIPD and the Office of Highway Safety continued territory-wide impaired driving campaigns and high visibility enforcement, including sobriety checkpoints and public education, reinforcing the need for statutory alignment so enforcement, prosecution, and prevention efforts can operate with maximum effect. In fiscal 2023 to 25, the DUI arrests totals 189, with blood alcohol reported cases at 60. The report rate was 31.7%. However, blood alcohol not reported or refused were 129. The results show that although 1/3 of DUI arrests had blood alcohol results officially reported, the remaining 68.3% either had no blood alcohol data reported or involved individuals who refused testing. The Office of Highway Safety plans from 2023 to 2025 described impaired driving project goals, reducing alcohol-impaired crashes and injuries, and listed enforcement initiatives implemented in partnership with VIPD, the law enforcement arm of the territory. These are the local data points VIPD relies on when developing enforcement and prevention strategies. As mentioned previously, fiscal year 24 and 25 showed declining number of driving impaired crashes when compared to 23. This is the desired trend throughout the territory, a positive trend, but one that still leaves alcohol-impaired driving an actionable risk identified in the planning documents. VIPD and the Office of Highway Safety continue to emphasize high visibility enforcement during holiday periods and campaign months. The sobriety checkpoint program funding will be a welcome source to realize these initiatives. To further address impaired driving, there should be targeted educational and outreach to the groups that are consistently violating the traffic safety rules. In the territory, the older age groups, 20 to 25 and older, are the core group of violators. Middle-aged and older adults, 35 to 55 and older, were the most affected groups, making up 73% of all DUI cases. These violators are overwhelmingly male, 81%, with Black and Hispanic drivers leading the category for race and ethnicity. Funding for more sobriety initiatives can only benefit the VIPD, Office of Highway Safety, the local populace, visitors, and encourage potential territorial investors with our improved traffic safety data. Increased initiatives also provide better protection of vulnerable road users. Increased enforcement to deter impaired driving will protect all road users. Alignment with highway safety programming. The potential for an additional funding source would align with highway safety's enforcement goals and the territory's highway safety plan objectives to reduce alcohol-impaired crashes and fatalities. This legislative action would make education, checkpoint activity, and high visibility enforcement more likely to change behavior and reduce recidivism. Even small reductions in impairment at the population level reduces crash risk. National research and highway safety local goals both indicate that combined strategies of strong laws, high visibility enforcement, and public education are necessary to reduce alcohol-impaired crashes and fatalities. Bill number 36-0221 to provide additional funding strengthens the enforcement piece of that three-pronged approach. Conclusion and recommendations. For the foregoing reasons, the VIPD strongly supports Bill number 36-0221 with the proposed amendments, which will strengthen the enforcement needed to reduce impaired driving by providing additional funding. It will enhance the prevention collaboration already active through VIPD and highway safety and community partnerships to fulfill the territory's highway safety plan to inform and educate. We recommend obtaining from the VI courts and the Department of Finance the revenues collected from impaired driving citations for the past 3 years to be used as a frame of reference. We also recommend that the fund be seeded with the revenues collected from the prior calendar year of the date Bill number 36-0221 becomes effective. We respectfully urge the committee to advance the amendments to Bill number 36-0221 with a favorable vote and final enactment. The VIPD stands ready to adhere to the requirements to effectively establish, maintain, and grow the Sobriety Checkpoint Program Fund. My team and I are available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. O'Neill. Who's going to do the presentation for the police department? You, Sarge, or? Oh. Please recognize the mic of Sergeant Commander Sergeant Commander Joseph, a senator in training.
You're getting me in trouble.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the position, but I am here to answer any questions that the senators may have regarding the traffic fatalities and how it relates to this particular bill.
Very well. Ms. Liebab, are you testifying? The commissioner did send in a testimony. I'm not sure who presented it on his behalf. Oh, that was done by you, Ms. O'Neill.
That was the only one, sir.
That's the only one from the police department?
Correct.
Okay, very well. All right, so that rounds out the testimony on that particular measure. What I'll do is open up to my colleagues for a 5-minute round. Before I do that, I wanted to ask highway safety and the police department, are you not concerned about quotas? I know that in the past, the judges have always scoffed at quotas and requiring any specific numbers and believe that helped to influence officers doing enforcement in particular areas. What is the current position in regards to quotas?
You asking me, Senator?
Yes.
Okay, Sergeant Arthur Joseph, Commander, St. Croix District Traffic Investigation Bureau. I agree with you, sir. Based on my experience in the Traffic Bureau, we tend to stay away from quotas. It drives certain behaviors that is not in the best interest of the public and enforcement efforts. So we focus our energies on the areas where we have data to show high amount of crashes, or areas where we can help educate individuals through our checkpoints about the behaviors that must change in reference to driving under the influence or operating unregistered, uninsured vehicles, or even operating vehicles with children not restrained, or passengers in the rear not restrained, and then passengers in the front and drivers unrestrained.
Very well. And Ms. Director O'Neill, in regards to, again, quotas or the sobriety checkpoints, this bill is requiring at least 4 within each of the islands. What happens if it falls under the 4? What do you see as consequential if you don't make the 4 sobriety checkpoints?
Sir, I think that the number of sobriety checkpoints is well within what can be done operationally during the year. However, if we fall below those, or if the police operations fall below those, I'm sure that there could be serious justifiable reasons for that. If for whatever reason the operational plans cannot go through, both of the traffic commanders can address that.
And based on current initiatives as it pertains to sobriety and checkpoints, what is the current requirements on an annual basis for checkpoints or the initiative? Not checkpoints necessarily, but traffic and sobriety checks initiatives. What's currently available?
We never put a limit. We go by national campaigns and what is happening locally with our carnivals and our festivals. But I can defer to Sergeant Lebob, and she can provide more clarification.
Sergeant Lebob?
As it pertains to initiative and enforcement, we have the campaign for DUI is national, is in April, and we know April is carnival for us. So we try our best to do some enforcement, but it's kind of limited. But we focus on 4th of July. We focus on St. Patrick's Day. We focus on Labor Day. And we also focus in December. We do some for Carnival, but being that we are limited with manpower, it's hard to do sobriety checkpoint during that time.
And since my question in terms of the requirements for a minimum of 4 per island, because traditionally what will happen is that based on the events on the various islands, Thanksgiving is another big time that you do traffic initiatives as well. So based on that, but I'll open up the floor to my colleagues.
Point of information.
Point of information, Senator DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you have, I understand and know what quotas are, but could you have the VIPD sergeants or commanders to explain to the public in regards to what are quotas? Thank you.
We don't have quotas.
We don't have.
Sergeant Joycelyn Lebob, St. Thomas, St. John Traffic Investigation Bureau. We don't have quotas for our officers. Excuse me?
Explain what it is.
A quota is like you go out and you tell the people, my officers, I need 20 tickets from each individual. But we as traffic officers don't do that. We just go there and you enforce. You can go and you could go do a directive patrol. If you decide that you want to do a directive patrol, you go to a specific area and you do a directive patrol there. You might get 10 tickets, you might get 2. It all depends. But we don't put a quota on the officers.
You have a perspective that you want to put on, Sergeant Joseph?
Senator, as you opened up and you spoke about quotas, it's not something that is, in my experience, that is something in the best interest of law enforcement to carry out in any community. Because you may have, when you start to do that, you have officers or personnel that may choose to provide false information or take advantage of the authority that they may have and issue citations that are not correct in some cases just to meet the quota that you have created. So it is not something, and I think in years that we've worked together, we went away from, we never even started in my career. Quotas is not something that is discussed, it's not something that is done, because we already knew it wasn't in the best interest of our community.
Right. When you start to mandate, certain checkpoints or locations and those type of things, is something that the courts have always.
And Senator, thank you for the time. I said briefly in my discussions with some of you that the checkpoints are designed to bring awareness to our community about sobriety. It's not designed to be punitive in any way, but to bring awareness and to help deter individuals from the conduct of driving under the influence. There are bigger pictures here, which is alcohol is considered a drug, and sometimes people use it to suppress other illness. And so we have to be mindful that our DOI enforcement is not just about trying to arrest anyone. And in terms of the penalties that derive from DUI arrests, the courts is the only entity that leverage penalties, and rarely do the court fine individuals. They actually, in some cases when we have those people who are repeat offenders, they provide them treatment and require that they attend some type of campaign or some type of facility to help them change their behaviors over time. So I don't know of a system where revenue is generated, and we got to be careful with that to give the impression that revenues can be generated from DUI arrests.
Correct. That's my concern. Senator Vela, you recognize your point of information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Neal, how many sobriety checkpoints were conducted in fiscal year 2025 by Island?
Daphne O'Neill, Director, Office of Highway Safety. In 2023, we had 16 days. I'm sorry, you can't hear me?
2025.
Oh, in 2025, we had
Yes.
5? How many? I'm sorry. In St. Croix,
Can you break it down?
in St. Croix, we had 36, and in St. Thomas, St. John, we had 31.
Those are sobriety checkpoints, 36 on St. Croix and 31 on St. Thomas?
That is what we have, sir. Sustain high visibility enforcement sobriety checkpoints.
Okay, if that is the case, 36 and 31, why was such a low number utilized in the bill of 4 and 4?
It's a starting point. I guess the design of the bill can answer that, but I think it's a starting point.
I'm asking you for your recommendation as being the director as to what do you believe that number should be if this bill was to pass? Because if you got 36 and 31, you're starting at 4. It's like That's really nothing. So what is your recommendation?
My recommendation, sir, is that we can start with the recommendation made in the bill, and then we can improve each year. If we keep going over, that's fine, and then we can see it as a path to grow. But I think because this is fairly new and we wanted to get it on the books, I think this is a good starting point.
10% of 36 is 3.6, so you're starting at 10% of what actually occurs.
Yes, and we can surpass that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Me asking about so fast. Thank you. I just asking about having figures, if the bill is supposed to pass, that are reasonable and make sense in terms of the work that is presently being conducted on a regular basis. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very well, thank you. Point of information, Senator Frederick. Please recognize the mic of Senator Frederick.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Director O'Neill, can you please state the number of DUI arrests we had in St. Croix and St. Thomas last year?
For 2024, for 2025, in St. Thomas, St. John, we had 30 arrests, and on St. Croix, we had 36, and that was for fiscal year.
So that's identical to the number of checkpoints you had?
Coincidentally.
Okay. Mathematically, that doesn't seem accurate, but Mr. Chair, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. Before we open up to questions, real quickly, Director Matthew, in regards to the delay in the implementation to October 1 of 2026, is there any punitive actions, any consequential actions by not implementing January 1? One second, I'll get your mic on there. Go ahead.
Why we're recommending the October 1st date is that is a renewal period for the 2027 calendar year. So rather than have it effective January 1st for those new persons, we want it to be in effect October 1st, which will affect anyone who's new or renews after that period.
Yeah, my concern is whether or not this may affect the accreditation or anything in any way, shape, or form.
No, it will not.
Will not. Okay, very well. Thank you. At this time, we'll open up the floor to a 5-minute round, and we'll start off with Senator Marvin Blyden. You're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the testifiers. And thank you so much for your testimonies. Let me ask first, in respect to Bill number 36.0221. First of all, when it comes to checkpoints, are you supposed to have reasonable cause or suspicion when it comes to checkpoints and stopping individuals? Because I remember when I came back home in '95, and there's a checkpoint. I had just come from California. I tell them that me and I stopping me doing what did I do wrong? They were picking and choosing who they were stopping at that time. I could tell you for a fact. Back then, I think back then, what happened, real talk, that's what happened with me. And I kept going and said, well, I follow me home because I know me doing wrong, I know my rights, I got home, I got things to do. Is it legal, first of all? Is it legal? And because I know it could be challenged in court. Is it legal?
Yes, it's legal. We can stop. And with the Sabari checkpoint, we stop every towed vehicles.
Okay.
So it's not that
It's
we
a
stop
pattern.
in you. So it's a pattern. We stop every third vehicle.
Very well.
And if we see something, if we see a vehicle before that third vehicle, or that person look impaired, then or a violation, then we stop that.
Of course,
vehicle.
that's fine. Just want to clarify. Okay, what happens to the money right now as we speak currently? Where does the fund go? Where are those funds going?
general fund.
Any, oh, you got it?
Respond, please.
Any funds collected for citations going to the general fund through the courts?
And what the average fine imposed?
Sarge?
The average fine, it varies. You have seatbelt, tint, child restraint. So it varies.
Okay, so you can't give me an average. Okay, no worries. Okay, let me go to Attorney Matthews. Good day, Attorney Matthews. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for you also in respect to, well, first of all, I support both of the bills, but I have some questions in terms of clarification. I know right now the requirement for the VI code in terms of Title 3, Chapter 35, in terms of promulgating rules and regulations. Do you have any rules and regulations right now as we speak promulgated?
Glendina Matthew, Division of Banking and Insurance. That question is towards me. That's correct?
Yes, it is for bill. Yeah, for the bill. Yes.
There is regulation relative to the Producer and Adjuster Licensing Act. Yes, there is.
So there is rules and regulation promulgated. Okay, I know you put out bulletins, correct? You put out bulletins?
Yes, we do have bulletins. In fact, what we generally do once there's an implementation of any new sections in the act, we do bulletins notifying the insurance producers any current and changes made to the law.
When was the last time you did put out rules? When was the last time the rules were changed?
Well, we do rules all the time because, for instance, I know the legislature recently passed another act for our office, and we did rules and regs for that. That is presently going through the process.
Okay, because I know at the bill it states 24 hours continuing education credits for each 2 years, right? In terms of the compliance period. So right now, what a big bill seeks to do is basically eliminate. Basically, what a bill is doing is going to eliminate the requirement that's in the VI code right now. What's your take? What's your take on it?
That is correct. That is correct in terms of the licensure.
Correct.
The continuing education period will remain the same, 2 years, and there's a 24 hours required for CE credits. But the licensure period is 1 year for insurance producers, individual insurance producers.
Okay.
Currently in the code.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. But basically, I do support both bills, and I will be voting at the appropriate time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Blyden. Point of information, Senator Viale.
Mr. Chair, I had to come back on because I asked what is the number of sobriety checks conducted during fiscal year 2025. Ms. O'Neill, you told me 36 and 31, but I'm looking at the Office of Highway Safety report, and the 36 and 31 is the number for the number of arrests, not sobriety checkpoint. So what is the number of sobriety checkpoints conducted? And the previous senator told you that something was wrong with the numbers being the same, and you said no. But according to your report, or whoever did the report, what is really the number?
Just a second. Just a second, sir. He's right here.
You answered me with such confidence that I thought your numbers were right until I dug a little deeper.
Thank you for pointing that out, sir. I stand corrected. The number of days in 2025 were 56 on St. Thomas St. John and 140 on St. Croix.
Okay, and that's what I'm seeing in the report. And now my last question, and this is to Officer Joseph and the officer in St. Thomas. Your initiative, is your initiative ever limited just to sobriety? Or is it a traffic checkpoint and whatever falls under that, encompasses under that, whether it's a weapon, drugs, whatever? Because I see you have 140. It wasn't 140 you just going out to look for DUI. It was 140 traffic initiatives, correct? Or explain to me.
Okay. Arthur Joseph, Sergeant Arthur Joseph, Senior, the Commando Traffic Investigation Bureau, St. Croix District. We did 140 days of DUI enforcement. Of the 140 days, we also included the click it or ticket, where you have DUI specifically is set up for DUI, and in click it or ticket, we also look for seatbelt infractions. But in both initiatives, you have, you can see infractions that you address that would give cause for the stop in some cases, and then you have an initiative where we set up, in the same initiative where we said we're stopping every fifth car. So we write down the plate number and the name of the individual for that fifth stop. Because when if we have a fifth stop and that happens to be a DUI arrest, we have to show the courts that we were in conformity with constitutional law, that we didn't just pick this person out because they look suspicious, but we picked them out because we got lucky, basically, that the fifth stop was someone who was in violation of, maybe they weren't wearing their seatbelt, maybe the sticker was not mounted on the glass, or the license plate wasn't on the front of the car. And so we stretch it out those days because that's the days of the grant. Grants that we are afforded have X amount of days that we can utilize the time to do enforcement.
Okay, thank you. So the 140 is the days under the grant?
Yes, the days fall under the grant, and so that's a length of time. So you may
did you
want
actually utilize all 140?
140 days, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator VLA. Next, we'll come to Avery Lewis is not there. Senator DeGraff, you recognize for your 5 minutes. Senator Dwayne DeGraff.
Mr. Chair was Senator Fonseca, you say? He was ahead of me.
I'm the sponsor.
Oh, you're the sponsor. Okay. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers, all of you listening and present. You know, for me, when it comes to, I don't like a bill, we're going to say, for sobriety tests, because then you're keeping it to the Traffic Bureau only. You know, I like if the Traffic Bureau is doing 140 days of federal mandated and they got funding for that. I like that because then each patrol unit also can do their own initiatives, which we need to flood the territory with traffic initiatives. I am for that. That's what I believe in. That's how I do it. But how much federal funding do we get for these programs?
The amount of federal funding depends on the project. It is how
the sobriety one. How much federal funding do we get for that?
Again, it is how the traffic commanders write the operational plan and how they plan to carry it out for the year, and how much manpower they're going to use.
Okay, so are any of those plans for federal funds done for 4 days in a year?
They're done for more than 4 days.
Right. So that's my point. So if we get in federal funds that we can do, hey, we want to do 140 days of this federally funded program, then and you know the sponsor is trying something. I agree with what he's saying, but we have federal funds that can do this for 140 days, as the sergeant just mentioned. So fines, when collected, the sergeant mentioned before, the court imposes the fines. The tickets, everything go to the fort, to the court. Right now, do you know what the court does with that money? Does the court use that funding, or is it sent Department of Finance? I don't know if you would know better. Whether the court uses that funding, or does the court transmit that money to the general fund? Okay, with the mic, you can have a assistant commissioner on the mic. Yeah.
Clarina Mudass-Elliott,
Okay.
Executive Assistant Commissioner, Department of Finance. The court do use their money. It doesn't go into the general fund.
Okay, so the court uses the monies from the fines and stuff generated by the traffic initiatives.
Yes.
Okay, so then that would be taking whatever money they get and putting it into a fund to be used now by the PD. So that in itself might become a conflict of interest or an issue. I don't know, because we have to have what the court uses it for.
I'm not sure.
You're
I
not
don't
sure?
know.
Okay. Okay. Now, in regards to Attorney Matthews, in regards to your bill, where you're changing the date to October, when I think in the bill they have where some of the issuance of the producing licenses remain effective December 31st. Would December 31st be a better date for you than the October 1st?
No, why we use the October 1st date is because generally in preparation for the renewal period, it opens up to persons to renew in October. So October 1st is the first date that someone would be able to renew for the next calendar year, which would be 2027.
Okay, so then doesn't it have an effect on your budgeting type cycles, because October begins the new budget?
1 minute.
Well, it will not. In fact, it should increase our cycle, because now we're going into the 2-year, the 2027 year, we should see an increase actually, because then they, instead of paying, for example, licensee would normally pay $200 for a new
30 seconds.
resident license. So they would be paying $400 for the 2-year license beginning the next calendar years.
Right. So for your next budgeting cycle, so that's what says if you put it in December 31st, you would have it in that budgeting cycle. You prefer to go to the next budgeting cycle.
Yeah, it's gonna start. The effect is that the January 1st, anyone renewing their license for January 1st would receive a 2-year
Time.
license, and they would be for 2 years.
Oh, okay. And in closing, Mr. Chair, in regards to the cleanup bill, in the bill has under Section 2, number 4, we're striking Humane Society St. Thomas Real Cat Spay Neuter programs, Rough Start Spay Neuter program, St. Croix Animal Welfare, St. John Animal Welfare Center, St. John Animal Care Center, St. Croix Annual Welfare Center, Dorcas St. Thomas, Dorcas St. Croix, and the junior dragsters is what I'm seeing here, that we clean up the bill to add the in Section 1, the fix, but then we are actually eliminating or some of them in it. So I have that as a concern, and I guess we could get any answers. My colleague could have a chance to address that. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator DeGraff. I think the issue or the contention was that the originally the funding that was earmarked, which was the Epstein Fund for the nonprofit organization, that the governor had determined that the animal shelter didn't fall within that realm. All of the other areas were funded, except for those particular areas that's now being replaced into the general funding rather than under the Epstein Fund that was used for the nonprofit organization there and that. I know Assistant Commissioner, you spoke about the funding for citations in the general fund, but there is a disbursement that not the funding from the general citation that goes into the general fund is not just to the courts. This also goes to the Virgin Islands Police Department as well as Highway Safety and others.
Correct. I just had a conversation with Director O'Neill, and she did confirm. Yes, you're correct.
So I just wanted the record to reflect, if you could just, correct what you had indicated, that it's not all going towards the court, but those other areas
Not
as well,
all,
right?
yes, not all the citation goes directly to the court. Some goes to VIPD.
Very well, thank you. Next, the chair will recognize Senator Hubert Frederick. You recognize for your 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, testifiers. Again, listening and viewing audience, my office, central staff. Excited to be here asking question of the Director of Banking and Insurance. Director Matthew, for the last couple of months, I've seen finally the division is coming to us quite a bit. Thank you. We're upgrading our laws, our insurance laws, and that's a good thing. In respect to this, I cannot vote on this measure because I'm a licensed insurance broker, but I think this was well-timed. It standardizes a process. Please tell us how many other jurisdiction currently falls within this provision of this law, this bill.
So currently, all the states and territories have producer and adjusters licensing act. However, 45 states currently have 2-year requirement. And one of the discussions when we initially did the adjuster and producer and adjuster licensing act is we knew we were going to get there where we would eventually go to the 2 years. But because we were transitioning into certain systems, we utilize a 1 year that we used before we adopted that act. So now that we have done the CE courses, we wanted to make sure the continuing education courses 2-year requirement is in line with the licensure of the insurance producer. So we wanted those two to be aligned with the 2-year requirement.
So ultimately, there's some reciprocity issues that comes in. Will this make us more in compliance with those states?
Yes, one of the things with this act, as well as the continuing education, is that it allows for reciprocity with other states and jurisdictions. So now that we have even the 2-year, that would be even more in line with other licenses that are being held by these individuals in other jurisdictions.
Okay, well, I strongly hope my colleagues will support this measure. Let me get back to the sobriety bill, because I'm still confused. Currently, if someone is pulled over and issue a ticket at one of these sobriety checkpoints, you get a ticket and then you go to court and you pay the fine. Is that the process?
Yes, Arthur Joseph, the Commander Traffic Investigation Bureau, St. Croix District. When you receive a citation and you choose to pay the fine, you go to the courts, the Superior Court, and you go to the Traffic Division, or you go just to the counter, the cashier, and they will look it up. And you can also do it online with the court system right now. And when you pay the fine, based on my years of experience, the money is distributed between the Justice Department, the Virgin Islands Police Department, and the Superior Court. Now, bear in mind that the court, if you don't pay the fine, you have a court fee that will be attached to that fine if you're found guilty of the offense. So that court fee is separate from the other fees of the citation.
So those are two different potential fines. The first one you spoke about being shared between the judicial branch, the police department, and who else?
And the Superior Court.
Okay, so the amount of money that's coming in, the fine portion, that's the police department's portion, is that what we're talking about being placed, redirected into this fund?
I would know that, sir. I don't know what portion, what fines, because you're talking about arrests.
I'm trying to figure out where the monies that this fund is setting up, where is it coming from and where is that money going? Because it seems right now if you get a citation, you pay the court. And then the courts split the money between the police department.
But there's a difference between a citation and an arrest. And so with the arrest, you'll have to find out from the sponsor of the bill where the money is being generated when an arrest occurs. And I know when a citation is issued, there's monies that is generated because the legislature has just upped the fines on citations. So those citations are, the monies for those citations are split between Justice Department, DOJ, Virgin Islands Police Department, and the courts. Now, when it comes to an arrest, I am not aware of how, because most arrests go through a process, and that is really where you get adjudicated, and I don't know of the fines that is levied against individuals, if there is any. That would be done with whether the attorneys are involved and whatever circumstances amount from the arrest.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Director O'Neill, can you shed some light on this since in your testimony you said you support the bill, so where would the funds be coming from?
Daphne O'Neill, Director, Office of Highway Safety. As I read in the testimony,
1 minute.
I would recommend that we obtain the information from the courts and the Department of Finance for the past 3 years and get that figure as a reference, a frame of reference of what they'll be working with. And then if the bill is approved, the first year could be seeded with the proceeds from the prior year. We would have to get the information through the courts and the Department of Finance. It is not something that I have at my fingertips right now, sir.
Okay, I'm going to need more
30
clarification.
seconds.
I'm not really understanding that. So, well, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I think the senator had made a good point in regards to what is the financial implication during a DUI arrest. I think the commander alluded to the fact that a lot of times the penalty or the punitive action is for treatment. Where there may be some culpabilities in terms of the court costs once you go through the process, the court process, but that court cost goes to the court.
That's correct.
So the issue is how will this non-lapsing fund that is being generated here or determined to be associated with this measure, what will be the funding source? What is the funding mechanism that's to be realized from this? I'm not sure if Finance or Office of Highway Safety have been able to glean what that number would look like or what that funding will come from in terms of the funding penalty that would result from such cases involving DUI. If there are any records in terms of what is collected either to the court for court costs or to the general fund, consequential to someone that have been arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. And that question is to either Highway Safety or the Department of Finance.
Hi, Clarina Modes Elliott, Executive Assistant Commissioner, Department of Finance. We haven't really done a deep dive, and so I'm unable to answer that question at this time.
Right.
And Daphne O'Neill.
What about Office of Highway Safety? Are you able to glean what that amount would look like?
Daphne O'Neill, Director, Office of Highway Safety. The only course available to us is to go back to the courts and by citation type, get what is collected on a yearly basis and get the information. We don't have it right now.
This is not about citation. This is about the DUI arrest. This is not about the citation.
And
this fund is establishing the DUI arrests.
And we would still have to
have you
get
been
that
able to- you
information
want
from the
to
court.
look
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Say again, I'm sorry.
I would say we would still have to get that information from the courts.
Okay. All right. Senator Vieira, you recognize your point of information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to put on a record in the bill in Section 2, subsection B, it says, notwithstanding Title 33 Virgin Islands Code, Section 3087, all fines imposed and collected for violations of Title 20 Virgin Islands Code, Section 493, shall be deposited into the impaired driving and sobriety checkpoint. So it's literally saying that any fine that is imposed will go directly to this particular fund. It doesn't speak to court costs, but it just speaks to fine. And so where those fines are presently going, once they're imposed, would be the big question, because then you would believe in, you don't know what the impact is in the court, how much they're actually retaining of that particular fine or where it goes, but all of it now will go into this one particular fund. So the key would be to get those numbers. Thank
What
you
is
so much.
493 though?
Good question, and we need to look at
493 is
that.
arrest. You know, it doesn't.
493 is arrest?
Well, there'd be what is 493?
493C speaks directly to
DUI.
the DUI chemical testing, the arrests from a DUI, and what an officer is required to do during a DUI arrest.
It's not the citation that's involved in it. Even with a DUI arrest, you may have operating a vehicle under a negligent driving or recklessly or whatever. That's a separate fine. You know, but the 493 really speaks to the DUI arrest. Unless, Commander, you could enlighten us if you know differently.
No, I don't know any different.
Well, but just because, Water, you have more, I mean, we have the former commissioner and big shot police from Savannah and St. Thomas, that we should be having a lot of clarity on these issues. Are fines usually, for the DUI arrest, it comes with a fine imposed by the court?
The process, when someone is arrested, there's an attorney involved. So justice is involved in the discussion as to whether fines are even levied. The individual has a right to plead. They have a right to accept whether they're going to go for therapy, treatment, and then you have the civil side of the matter. And when a DUI occurs and it's a crash, there's a civil liability that comes with that. But all those issues regarding what happens to that individual who's arrested, it depends on the discussion between the attorneys in the courts that represent the individual and the Justice Department and their attorneys, and what they finally come up with. So it could have a fine, but the police department, we would not know until they send us back a report on what the case completed was about.
Thank you.
At this time, the chair will recognize. Oh, before we go on to Senator Carla Joseph, who will be the next senator, I wanted to ask Assistant Commissioner Modest Elliott, can you speak to what is non-lapsing fund? You know, just for the benefit of the public and the listening audience.
Hi, Clarina Modest Elliott, Executive Assistant Commissioner, Department of Finance. And so non-lapsing means that at the end of the fiscal year, the fund continues to, you could put budget and pay against the fund. Once it's lapsing at the end of the fiscal year, that's it. You can't do anything with it.
All right, thank you. I just wanted for the public to understand what's non-lapsing in this discussion. This time, Senator Carla Joseph, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the sergeant on this end was trying to get your attention to speak on the questions that was raised by the previous senator. And so I wanted to just allow her to do that, but not on my time.
Very well. You could do it on my time, and then we'll start your time. Sergeant Lee-Bob, you're free to speak.
Sergeant Joyson Lee-Bob, Traffic Commander, St. Thomas St. John, Ward Island District. In reference to DUI and arrest, once you have a DUI arrest, you post bail. Once you post bail, you know, you're released. you have that option where you have to go to court and you go through the process. You have your probable cause hearing, you have your arraignment, and what's not. The court is the one decide if they're going to fine you or if they're going to dismiss the case if they have probable cause to go ahead with it. We as officers don't dismiss cases. We fight our cases. So as this pertains to DUI arrests, the court is the one that gave us the final decision on the DUI arrests. As it comes to a fine or whatever, majority of the time, the person, well, in the St. Thomas St. John district, majority of the time, they plea and they decide if they're going to get fined in reference to that DUI arrest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think the point that you're trying to make is that the court will make the final disposition on all of the matters involving the DUI arrest.
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, Senator Carla Joseph, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and a pleasant good day to everyone. Now, I just want to pick up and ask this question. I know it was asked before, so I could gain clarity, because I know the judicial branch have indicated that they do collect certain fines, and those fines are transferred to the government. And they are placed in the general fund. Is it your representation here, Assistant Commissioner Modeste Elliott, that these particular fine for DUI, the court now keeps some of that money or keeps all of it? They don't transfer or transmit any of this source of fund to the general fund?
Clarina Modeste Elliott, Department of Finance. To my understanding, that it was being distributed directly to the courts, VIPD, and I forgot justice as well. But I need to confirm, because I know accountant was trying to reach the CFO to find out if there was any additional going towards any other agency, but we weren't able to make direct contacts.
I was trying to reach the administrator of courts myself, because I believe that is a very critical information that we need to have here and to discuss. I really like this bill in particular, bill number 360221, and I really want to commend the sponsor of the bill, because it puts in a line item and it helps with transparency. My concern is with finance, with your reconciliations of these funds. How are we doing with that? Because now you are getting another fund, which I like when they have different funds, because then we as a Senate, and when we are appropriating monies, we can see that particular fund, how it's being used. At least we're supposed to. So how many, is this going to be an added work for you to have and manage this fund? I know the answer is yes.
Correct. Yes, it definitely will be added work. We are currently working on the fund balance reconciliation, but just wanted to put on the record, not because the fund have availability means that there's available cash, because we operate under pool cash. And so there may be available money in a fund, but, the fund balance and the bank balance is two different things. So just kind of wanted to put that on the record.
Great. And I because you are here and with the Department of Finance, I don't want to lose the opportunity to ask you, where are we with the fiscal year audits? That's one of my major issues. And this body, I believe, the chairman had moved a measure to appropriate, I think it was $2 million to complete these fiscal year audits. And he can correct me if my recollection is incorrect. But where are we?
We just issued the 2023 audits. It was last week, Monday.
So it's up on your website?
It is.
Okay, 2023 audits is completed. So you're working on the 2024?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't hear my time call, so I guess I have more time. She's
1
gonna-
minute.
Thank you. Now, I want to go and ask a question relative to the other bill from Ms. Matthews. Ms. Matthews, you always come here with yourself prepared with the Lieutenant Governor's office. So I wanted to ask, why are we differentiating between a non-resident insurance producer license and a resident producer license? What's the reasoning behind that?
There's two reasoning. One being the fee, and in terms of how they become licensed. Non-resident licensure, usually their resident licensure is in another state.
30 seconds.
And they become non-resident licensed in the Virgin Islands. So that's the distinction, as well as the fee that they pay for licensure.
So one fee is higher than the other? I know you
The
said
non-resident is higher.
how much is
is
that
high.
fee?
The resident new example, non-resident new. Well, resident new is $400. Renewal is $200. Non-resident
Time.
is $700 new. Renewal is $400. So with the 2-year licensure, instead of $400, they would be paying $800 for a 2-year licensure. If they're a resident, if they're a non-resident, they would be paying $1,400 for a 2-year new license.
Understood. Thank you so much for placing that on the record. And I am standing in support of both measures, although I am not a member of this committee and cannot vote. Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Carla J. Joseph. Next, the chair will recognize Senator Craig Viola. You're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Point of information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I definitely will be supporting the bill sent down by the Lieutenant Governor office. We've done a lot of work through this body to make sure that that entity becomes accredited. And we will continue to have these type of bills that the legislature need to pass so that we can maintain uniformity with a number of the other states and territories. So this is a good bill, and I'm encouraging everyone to definitely support the bill. It is nothing out of the ordinary. In reference to the bill that establishes this special fund, I think we need some clarification and some numbers from the court in terms of how much is actually being collected and what would be deposited into the particular fund. The fund goes on to say that the 100% of fines collected would go into the fund, and then it breaks it down into 50, 25, 25%, with some of the monies going to the Office of Highway Safety. I think 25%, the balance of the fund, about 25% will go to the Office of Highway Safety. Now, Highway Safety, you have been not able to spend all your funds every fiscal year. I think I saw a report in which you carried forward monies from fiscal year 23 to 24 and from 24 to 25. Was there also a carryover from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26?
Yes, Daphne O'Neill, Office of Highway Safety. Yes, we carried over some NHTSA funds at the end of fiscal year 2025 because sometimes our allotments come in very late, and it's very hard to put a project that will be fully executed by September 30th by the time we get our final allotments. So those funds are usually carried forward.
When did you receive your FY25 allotment from the federal government?
Because of all that was happening, I do believe that we received the last allotment in August of 2025.
When did you receive the first allotment?
The first allotment came at September 2024 for fiscal year 2025.
And what was the amount? Can you tell me how many allotments did you receive? 4 or 12?
The allotments from NHTSA usually comes in just 2 allotments, and I can get that information for you because I don't want to give you an incorrect number.
How much was carried over to fiscal year 26?
Approximately 300,000.
Okay, and that has been the average carryover. I'm seeing, 200 or something thousand a year before, and the same amount the year before that, and the 200 or something thousand?
Approximately, yes, sir.
I asked a question because I'm looking at the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety, Triennial Highway Safety Plan, the fiscal year 2026 update. And in it, you're saying that for fiscal year 2025, HSP had $3,389,775 worth of projects, but only received funding in the amount of $1,271,424 for FY24 to use together with the $239,873 that was carried over from 2024. So you're saying you had, in your estimation, $3.3 million in projects, but you only received $1.2 million and then $239 that was carried over. So I would imagine that with all those programs you had planned in the amount of $3 million plus, that those monies would be exhausted shortly?
When we're writing the plan, it is a plan. There are things that we want to do, and we have projects in mind, and we are always encouraged to over-apply, and that's what we do. And
okay, so the point I'm trying to make, if you are over-applying on a regular basis, why are you still carrying over 250,000 average every single year? Even if those monies came in August, if you already have a plan that is established, can you not exhaust those monies before the end of the fiscal year?
we have to have projects that must be assessed, and then they must be fully executed before the end of the fiscal year. That is a very, very short turnaround. And the funding that we receive during that time is good for a 2-year period, sir.
Hold up. Your report says that HSP, Highway Safety Planning, I would imagine, had $3,389,000 worth of projects. You came up with a specific amount for projects that you wanted to implement. You only received 1.2 and you had 200,000 carryover, so let's say about 1.5. You only received 50% of what you wanted to carry out projects. So I'm asking you, why are you not able to exhaust every single dime that you receive for a fiscal year when you have double the amount in planned projects? This is the report that you submitted.
Sir?
30 seconds.
With the Office of Highway Safety, we are federally funded. Most of the positions there are federally funded. It is best for us to carry forward some funds so that the staff can continue to get paid while we develop the new projects for the fiscal year. So, and again, I cannot control when NHTSA is going to release the allotments. When I get the allotments, I have to plan, okay, here it is, here's what I have, so that my staff can continue to get paid and we do not place a burden on the general fund.
Were you given a directive to utilize as much of the federal funds as possible for overtime that's affiliated with the traffic initiatives?
Only if it's an approved project.
Do you have projects that are approved for sobriety, for any type of safety checkpoints, that we're able to pay the overtime from federal funds because we have federal funds allocated for such projects?
In fiscal year 2025, we had federal funds available.
Did you utilize any federal funds in fiscal year 2025 for overtime for projects that were approved by the federal government?
Yes, we did, sir.
How much?
I can get you that information. I can have someone text it to me, sir.
Okay, please do, and then you can put it on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Viale. Point of information, Senator College Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I did receive a text from the administrator of the courts to clarify whether any of the DOI fines are kept and used by the court, and the text indicated that they do not. The court costs are paid, even the court costs are paid into the general fund. The administrator went on to say the courts get $2 for Rising Stars and $1 for the court. Our esteemed vice president made an amendment to with fees, and now they get $1 for court with the increases for the traffic fines. So some of these costs they don't have, they don't receive. It's also a part of getting some additional information that they submitted about, I don't want to say this because I don't want to quote it incorrectly, but I always reminded that the courts always say they don't have either sword or purse. And that's how I know that they don't, that's how that was a red flag for me, that they don't keep these monies for these DOIs. It is going into the general fund. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for the point of information to clarify.
Thank you very much, Senator College Joseph. Before we go to the next senator, which will be Senator Clifford Joseph, I wanted to ask you real quickly, outside of this bill, Ms. O'Neill, what prevents the Office of Highway Safety, along with the Virgin Islands Police Department, from conducting sobriety checkpoints?
There is nothing preventing the VIPD traffic units from doing the sobriety enforcement. It is something that needs to be done, and it is done continually. There's nothing outside of the funding source that stops it.
So do you believe that this should be an administrative responsibility or a legislative responsibility in terms of mandating or requiring sobriety checkpoints?
I don't see this as mandating sobriety checkpoints, but it lies within VIPD operations for the sobriety checkpoints.
Well, the law here sets a minimum of 12, which is 4 per island. So it is mandating at the very least 4 of them on each of the island once this is put in place.
The 4
Correct?
is, I think, is a starting point, and you're correct. It does have it in the bill, but I think it is a starting point. It could be revised to say augmenting the sobriety checkpoints that are currently in place.
Point of information. Point of
Very
information.
quickly, how many pedestrian fatalities did we have in FY 2025 so far?
One moment, sir.
Yeah. Point of information when you're done. I only went through.
You want total fatalities? Yeah. The number of total traffic-related fatalities for 2025 was 17.
Okay. And that was an increase over 24?
Yes, it was, sir. It was
How many of those?
it was
How
double.
many of those were associated? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it was double. We had 8 in fiscal year 2024, and in 2025 we had 17.
Yeah. How many of that was associated with DUI drivers?
Fatalities. The number of fatalities in fiscal year 2024 was 1, and in 2025 was 1. And then we had a pedestrian-related DUI crash in 2025.
Is any of your funding initiative address our pedestrian crosswalks? Creating additional painting and highlighting, lighting, any other in regards to our pedestrian crosswalks? Any of it?
The words that you just used relate to Public Works responsibility, sir. But we do have, and we have put out public information messages.
One second, Ms. O'Neill. I didn't ask you if you painted them. I simply asked how many of your funding initiative have been geared towards pedestrian crosswalks.
Through our media project, I would say about $15,000 just for public awareness and traffic safety messaging.
We had a doubling of fatalities, pedestrian fatalities, of $15,000 had gone towards pedestrian crosswalk, public education, anything that again would be geared towards an advisory in respect to what we will believe to be a crisis with the doubling of pedestrian fatalities.
We didn't double pedestrian fatalities. We doubled overall fatalities for crashes, sir.
Okay, from any advisory in those areas?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat?
That's okay. In regards to, I see that there's some lighted school zone signs recently. Is that have anything to do with the Office of Highway Safety? I see that they're solar powered and they're lighted, and flashing lights, something that I've always advocated for in respect to designation of our schools, making sure that we highlight the fact that we're entering into the school zone and we should be slowing down. Is that associated with highway safety in any way, shape, or form?
No, sir. We did not provide any funding for that.
No.
Point of information. Point of information.
Point of information, Senator DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to impaired driving and highway sobriety checkpoints, as was mentioned, there's federal funding for it. Does the federal funding, what cost is there to VIPD? What do you have to pay for? You have to pay for ticket books, or does the federal money cover ticket books? Does it cover the field sobriety tests, kits, blood? I don't know. What cost does VIPD incur from these checkpoints?
Through highway safety, we pay mostly for the overtime associated with those initiatives.
Right. The federal money pays overtime.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Okay, so needing the tests, the blood tests, kits, whatever the one way you blow into those sobriety tests, does PD have to pay for those themselves?
So the general fund would usually carry most of the burden for that, sir.
Right. So what type of costs are we looking at for that end of it that would be needed?
We would have to do some research and get back to you, sir.
Okay, because the bill is generating a fund that would assist with PD, but basically we're here to find out what actually do you need funding for. So we're taking all of these funds, putting it into a fund that will be used for PD, but then PD needs to be able to tell me, what do you need the money for? Because we might be able to probably just do a line item versus doing something that we already have federal funding for.
I can say that VIPD always needs supplies, and you've touched on some of them, the test kits, et cetera, and any other thing that the police operations need to operate effectively.
Okay, thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. At this time, the chair will recognize Senator Clifford A. Joseph for his 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the testifiers and good afternoon to the listening public. I know the question was close to this a while ago, but Sergeant Joseph, maybe you can answer this for me. Can the VIPD now conduct sobriety checkpoints and partner with other entities?
Yes, as long as the grant allows us to involve, and it does, once you're a peace officer, the grants from the Office of Highway Safety allows us to engage in bringing on other individuals. As a matter of fact, I think with Director O'Neill, they were able to increase the amount of officers that we can utilize by getting some support from NHTSA to increase the amount of people that we can use to carry out DUIs. However, due to the changes in manpower and the different events that coming up, sometimes we're unable to carry that out. But we can partner with other law enforcement agencies and other law enforcement officers. Even once you're a peace officer, you can join, and once the process is set up where you can be paid, we can certainly have you join us to do the DUI checkpoints.
Okay, and what is the VIPD currently doing for intoxicated drivers to curtail intoxicated drivers?
As the partnership continues with the Office of Highway Safety, we do outreach. They do advertisements. We have one of our, Miss Petrus, does all the work in terms of doing outreach. As you saw at the end of the highway, you saw the information regarding what can result as a result of a DUI or a crash. It also works partnership with other individuals within that office in terms of seatbelt, Ms. Gomes, as well. So it's a whole team effort to address the issue of DUI, seatbelt, and all the other stuff that highway safety has under its purview to address. But we come in from the enforcement standpoint. So when there's when there's funding available, they would contact us and we'll sit down and go through the plan and then effectuate a DUI enforcement initiative.
Okay, because I'm looking at what the bill wants to do, and I'm questioning what you're already doing. So I'm just.
Yes, we're doing that currently.
Okay, you mentioned 140 days. The grant covers. Does this legislation raising any funds impact anything to do with your grant?
No, I don't think it impacts the grant. I mean, the grant comes from, the federal funding comes to the Office of Highway Safety after they apply for that monies, and we carry out, when we meet with them, they tell us how much money is available and how long we can do the enforcement. And so we try to utilize the monies to do enforcement for the period of time that it calculates that we can utilize the money.
Okay, thank you. Director O'Neill, how many federal funds has the Office of Highway Safety returned in the last 3 years?
In the last 3 years, sir?
In the last 3 fiscal years. Then.
I would have to get that information for you, sir. I don't have it with me, but I can get it for you.
And as far as when you get your money, is it broken down or you just get all as a lump sum, meaning like if you get X amount just for educational purposes, or it comes all in one?
We get funding from 4 grant-specific sources.
So do you get specific amount just for educational awareness?
We have, through NHTSA, we get to use some of the funds based on the projects for education and outreach.
Okay, good. And have any of your money been returned for not being spent on a timely fashion?
For NHTSA, we have a 2-year period with each award,
1 minute.
and we usually spend 100% of the grant that does education and outreach.
So the answer would be none of your money have been returned.
None of the monies for education and outreach has been returned, sir, not for NHTSA.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your response. And I'm in support of
So you said that?
the bills for the Lieutenant Governor office, Ms. Matthews Esquire. Going to the 2-year process, does that help beef up your office a little more?
Yes, Glendina Matthew, Division of Banking, Insurance and Financial Regulation. Yes, it will, because currently all the license expire December 31st. So with us going to birth month, it allows us to have a continuous stream of
Time.
reviewing applications versus all of them coming in at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you for your response. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator Clifford Joseph. Point of information, Senator Viale.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Neal, you have had federal funds returned back to the federal government, correct?
Yes, we have.
Every fiscal year in the last, when 2023 go back, like 5-6 years, you have had funds returned?
Yes, but I don't have that number with me, sir.
What number you have with you? That have been your answer for quite a bit of questions. I don't have that information with me. You run a very small entity with not a huge, not huge sums of money. But it seems like every time a question is asked, you don't have that information. What information you walk with for this meeting?
I walked with the information which was relevant, I think, to the bill.
Okay.
Highway safety returning funds. I'm not sure if it's applicable here because the funding sources for education and outreach, that was the question that was asked. And I responded that I know for a fact that none of those funds were returned.
Well, they're all applicable because you're running the highway safety, and any money is returned under highway safety, I think is applicable to making sure that we have safe roads. But I wanted to ask you a question. I know there was a discussion about overtime with the sobriety check, but when you're submitting a plan to be able to institute X among the sobriety check on the island, don't you include equipment and materials, or you just have personnel costs? Don't you include the most updated sobriety equipment? Are you having a discussion in reference to the onboarding of the Cannabis Act as to what type of equipment would be necessary to be able to conduct checkpoints for another drug? What is actually in that decision? Is equipment not included?
Equipment has to get prior approval from the feds, but if the officers who are writing the operational plan and the project puts them in there, we review it, and then we send it up to the grantor agency to get approval. But if it is not in there, it's not included in the project, sir.
Okay, so let me change the question. So nobody from the police department, nobody's putting in equipment. We conduct these tests, and there's not a need for updated equipment. So equipment isn't included in the submission of any of the plans.
Sarge, the officers can answer, sir. Sergeant Joseph or Sergeant Lebop can answer.
In Sergeant Joycelyn Lebop, Assistant Commander, Traffic Investigation Bureau, St. Thomas, St. John, Ward Island District. Yes, when the plan is up there, we talk with Ms. Petros and we let her know exactly what we need. If we need cones, vests, lighting. As I told her this year that we don't have all the equipment that we need to actively do a good sobriety check, because certain areas where you go in, the lighting is dim, damp. So we need more lighting. We need more cones. We need visible vests, and that was given to Ms. Petros.
So, Ms. Petros, is equipment and supplies included in the submission for the federal grant?
Hello, my name is Katanya Petros. Yes, currently with the upcoming fiscal year, 2 intoximeter instrument will be included in that as well. The cones were already purchased in fiscal year 2025, which will be in use this fiscal year in both districts. They have new signage because the one that we had was a little bit old and it needed to be updated so it could be more visible. These supplies are also being included into the projects.
Was it included in the grant last year?
No, it was not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Viale. Senator Milton Potter, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. Special good afternoon to the testifiers who are before us today. I want to start with Ms. Director O'Neill. Director O'Neill, I have to say kudos to the Office of Highway Safety for one thing. You had a seatbelt campaign that used to run, I think, maybe last year, the year before. It was a locally produced commercial that was just top of the line. I don't see it anymore. It was young people. I think there was an accident, but it was very effective. And I wanted to know whether or not you collect any data to determine, how do you determine the effectiveness of these types of campaigns?
So we put them out on social media, we put them on YouTube, et cetera, and then we get the information regarding the number of likes, the number of shares, et cetera, to know who we are reaching and how effective it is. And in reference to the commercial that you're referring to, the ad that you're referring to right now, we have it placed to run with the Super Bowl.
Excellent, excellent. I wanted to ask you regarding this bill, what specific staffing and recruitment challenges have prevented your office from conducting more checkpoints?
The Office of Highway Safety does not conduct the checkpoints. It would be police operations, so I'll pass the mic to the sergeants.
I'd like to know how do your office interact with VIPD on these types of checkpoints?
Well, because the funding would be through us, we would do the monitoring. We usually share when there is media output, and we sit down, we discuss with the sergeants, we help them plan their projects and guide them through it. We're fully involved.
Okay. Sergeant, as far as what specific staffing and recruitment challenges have prevented your office from doing more of these checkpoints? I know there's a cost associated with it, for sure.
Right now, the police department is employee-wise is low.
I know.
And to get officers to do the initiative, you're taken away from the regular patrol. So we have to do it where we, get enough staffing to actively and productively fulfill.
The staffing is a big challenge.
Yes.
Could this bill, Director O'Neill, in any way have any sort of adverse impact on any sort of highway safety grant funding?
No, there would be no negative effect because there is something called a maintenance of effort that anybody who is receiving these federal funds, any entity, has to show that they are fully dedicated to run the program. So if this funding source gives us additional monies that we don't have to tap into in the federal funds, it helps us to prove our maintenance of effort to the funding agency. It shows them that the government of the Virgin Islands is committed
Has some skin in
to
the game.
having, yes.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I wanted to move to Attorney Matthew, and I wanted to ask Attorney Matthew, how many individual insurance producers are currently licensed in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
We have 95. I'm going to give you the insurance companies. I'm going to get that information as to the insurance producer. But we have 95 property and casualty companies, 52 life companies, and 22 disability and health companies. We'll get that information relative to the insurance producers.
Okay. Excellent. What is the current annual license fee, and what will a 2-year license fee be?
So the current licensure fee is for resident insurance producers. It's for new persons is $400. For it will be once this legislation is passed, $800. So we're basically just doubling what it would have cost them, even if they had done 1 year last year and 1 year
1
this
minute.
year.
Okay, so
And for non-resident, we have new 700. For once the law is passed, it would be 1,400, and that's just for new persons.
okay, so there really isn't any sort of incentive to, other than, well, the rule is changing, with this new legislation, as far as paying the fees based on a 2-year cycle as opposed to 1, as far as from the consumer perspective.
That is correct.
Okay. What specific administrative burdens
30 seconds.
will be reduced by moving to a 2-year license?
Well, right now, most of our licensure expires December 31st and is renewed January 1st. So with us going to a 2-year and birth date, it allows the insurance licensing examiners to be able to review each application throughout the year based on the birth date or the birth month of the individual producers versus all expiring on December 31st. So that is definitely a benefit to our office.
I got you. Thank you very much. I think that is, I don't have any further questions for you. Thank you very much for your responses. Ladies, at the appropriate time, I plan to vote in the affirmative for both initiatives. I don't get a vote in this committee, however. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Potter, for your line of questions. Director O'Neill, in regards to seatbelt usage, what is our current percentage? Where are we with that right now?
We are currently at approximately 75% as reported for the fiscal year 2025 seatbelt survey.
I started out the hearing today just talking about the amount of increase in traffic accidents that we have seen, as well as I know that there have been several ejections from vehicles as well, which means that obviously these individuals are not wearing seatbelt. Is there any active campaigns being earmarked or a survey being done, any advisory put out in respect to the use of seatbelts?
Yes, sir. We just put out a PSA as a result of all of the crashes that happened just a few days or in the past weeks. And we continue to ask the public to please wear your seatbelt, be vigilant, don't speed, share the road wisely and safely. We put out the PSA this morning.
Okay, excellent. And we also talk about distracted driving. I know that a lot of these accidents may be associated with the use of cell phone or text and driving. Anything on that?
That was included in the message, sir.
Okay. And you also had a recognition recently where I think Ms. Denise Gomes had received, she's the Occupant Protection Programs Manager, receive national recognition. Anything you want to say about that?
Yes.
As exists, that's
That
definitely
was
kudos
excellent.
to highway safety. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
kudos
highway
to
safety.
her. Denise worked very hard. She came on to the unit and she embraced occupant protection. She fully believes in it. She is an excellent worker. She really, really puts her energy into it. I was very glad that she got the national recognition. It was no less than she deserved. We were very, very proud of Denise.
I don't know what's going on at highway safety. You're taking some good people from education. I see Miss Baltimore Hufkin is here. I know Denise was over at education. What's happening at highway safety? Everybody jumping ship and coming over there.
They believe in protecting the community.
Pay must be better too, right? No comments. All right, I'll take that. At this time, I recognize Senator Ray Fonseca. Bill sponsor, you recognize for your 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to say a special thanks to Miss Clarina Modest Elliott and also Daphne O'Neill and the whole panel of testifiers. Colleagues, so this bill will create a dedicated fund and strengthen the fiscal transparency. We all know that alcohol-impaired driving continues to be one of the most preventable causes of death. I wanted to go to Ms. O'Neill. The Rules Chair Committee reported earlier that the funds that are being collected now are going to the general fund. We already know what happens when it goes to the general fund, but the bill also requires annual reporting to the legislature, detailing checkpoints, etc. Currently, are you required, Ms. O'Neill, to do any reporting on your programs to the legislature?
Not that I'm aware of, but every single year when we receive federal funds, we have to do an annual report. And the annual report is submitted to the funding agencies, and they usually put it on their website. And the annual reports are available also.
Okay, so you see, colleagues, part of the role of the legislature is financial oversight. So now we will be getting a dedicated report where we can get into the oversight responsibilities. Now, you mentioned in your testimony, Ms. O'Neill, that you need equipment. You know, there's training you want to do some public education, you want to do additional highway safety programs. Would this fund help you in those initiatives?
Simply because it's dedicated to the sobriety checkpoints, it will be focused on that solely.
Exactly.
We have to ensure that it remains dedicated to what the source that it came from and the law that is tied to those funds.
Okay, and I want to go quickly to the AC Modest Elliott. You said that the Department of Finance recommends the use of formal interagency memoranda of understanding to clearly define roles, responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So is this one of the areas that you think will provide more transparency and accountability?
Correct, yes.
Okay, good. And then also the Checkpoint Program Safety Fund. You mentioned that if we reduce the amount of deaths, it would actually reduce the amount of driving while intoxicated will actually reduce the funding that's going to be collected in fines, which is really the goal. We want to increase the enforcement so that we don't have to fine people And when we don't have to find people, then we will be saving more lives. And that is the goal, to increase enforcement and to save lives. So I think that's where the bill is going for. So right now there was a question about the 3.3 millions that you had asked for, and you actually received the 1.2 million. You need to do that because you need a cushion, because you are, what percentage federal is your payroll? What percentage funding?
Every staff member at the Office of Highway Safety is federally funded.
100%?
100%.
Okay, so I can understand if I was working in a program and you can't depend on general funds, you're 100% federal funding, I will see where I would want to make sure I'm asking for sufficient funds so that I can be able to cover and retain staff. So right now in the program, there's no one that is funded by the general fund.
Currently, no.
No, so it's a full federal funded program, and most of it goes to payroll,
30 seconds.
benefits, etc. Okay, so now let me ask you. The bill requires annual reporting to the legislature, detailing checkpoints conducted, crash, arrests made. All of the data that the senators have been asking for here will now be provided in this annual report.
Time.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we'll be getting an annual report on costs incurred. Mr. Chair, if I can just wrap up.
You may wrap up, Senator.
Okay, so basically, tell me how you would actually do the sobriety checkpoints. This would be conducted with the Office of Highway Safety, and Highway Safety doesn't do enforcement. That's VIPD, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so do you wanted to add anything to that?
The only thing that I would add is that we continue to work with the traffic units. We have a very, very good relationship. Sergeant Joseph, Sergeant Lebob, they know where to find us. They are constantly in contact with my staff and myself when necessary. And the question arose, how much did we spend in overtime through traffic enforcement? And we spent $194,799.14.
Okay, and one final question. I know you had that thing with the child seats for the little children's, Would you be able to provide more of that? Because I know my office get requests for those child seats, and it seems like you never have enough. Would this be able to help with the little children?
The sobriety checkpoint, simply by its name,
Yes.
it would have to remain with that.
Okay.
But we have projects in place to work to get more car seats here and continue the distribution throughout the territory.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator Fonseca, for your line of questions. Director Daphne O'Neill, are you saying that this bill would require you to have an additional layer of reporting that you're not currently involved in? Aren't you required to document and report all of the expenditures to the federal government at this time?
Yes.
So this is one and the same. I mean, there's no additional requirements that this bill present to you except that you'll be providing that information to the legislature. But you have an annual report that's generated with all of the information associated with your programs, correct?
We do annual reports, and they are based on funding. So if we get monies from this fund, we will also have to do a separate annual report for that. It cannot be included in the federal funds.
In terms of the federal initiatives that's being done, have always been federal funded initiatives?
We always try to have in our plan initiatives with enforcement, high visibility enforcement is really good. I mean, it's effective, and we always have it in the plan.
Is there any funding, federal funding required for the enforcement officers that's assigned to Office of Highway Safety?
We do not have any dedicated officers. We have a motor carrier commercial unit, which is part of the traffic unit, but They're not dedicated solely to highway safety.
Well, so there's no funding requirement for you to actually pay Virgin Islands police officers except when they conduct initiative associated with Office of Highway Safety.
As long as the initiative is an initiative through one of our projects, we will pay it.
And in you're supportive of this particular measure because it does what for you?
I'm supportive.
Because one of the difficulties I'm having is being able to take away money from the general fund, and where there's opportunities for us to be able to fund, these programs under federal funds through Office of Highway Safety or Law Enforcement Planning Commission or other grants. I'm hard pressed to take monies away from the general fund, even though that this is a very important initiative. I support DUI enforcement. I believe that there's opportunities there via federal funds, but now you're asking that we should remove or take away money from going to the general fund now to be able to create a separate and distinct fund. Convince me, what do you believe this bill will do? That minimize us taking money away from the general fund and putting it into this dedicated fund.
Senator, with this fund, based on the allotment or the proposed percentage allotment, the Office of Highway Safety would only be getting 25%. 75% would be going to the police department. So then they can do whatever they want. They do not have to give the Office of Highway Safety any of their monies. I will never refuse money, trust me. But if it is more effective to give 100% to the Virgin Islands Police Department, I'm all for that, because they can always use the extra monies.
No, I agree. So what is your projection? What is the projection that you're expecting from these funds?
Because right now I do not have the analysis from the courts. I do recommend we get the 3-year analysis for the fines that have been collected from the DUIs and impaired driving and see what that is, and then we can move forward.
Very well, thank you. At this time, I'll allow for, if there's any burning questions from my colleagues. If not, I'll allow for the testifiers to do a 30-second wrap-up. None from my colleagues at this time. Attorney Matthew.
Good afternoon, Glendina Matthew, Director, Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation. I just want to thank the legislature for, first of all, bringing this bill before you. I also want to thank my staff, both in the St. Croix District as well as the St. Thomas District, for all the work that they've been doing. And I just want to also thank the community for always supporting us with our endeavor, including the accreditation of the division. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Magdalene Burke, do you have anything that you wanted to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have anything that you would like to say, now will be the time.
I concur with it. Magdalene Burke, Assistant Director, Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation. I'd like to also thank the community for their support. We thank, again, the staff on the St. Thomas and St. Croix District for their forever and their continued support with everything that we do within the division in the community.
Thank you very much, Assistant Director. This time, Assistant Commissioner Modest Elliott.
Good afternoon, Clarina Modest Elliott, Executive Assistant Commissioner, Department of Finance. I would like to thank the legislative body for giving us the opportunity to testify. We'll continue to collaborate with the VIPD and the courts to make sure that the fundings are being deposited exactly where it needs to go. And so with that, thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from Director O'Neill.
On behalf of Commissioner Mario Brooks, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to testify on behalf of this bill. I think it is a good funding multiplier for VIPD. I do hope that it goes through successfully. And I would be remiss, being the director of the Office of Highway Safety, if I didn't ask everybody to buckle up, don't drink and drive, don't be distracted, protect our precious cargo, our little ones, by having them in the correct car seat, and always obey the rules of the road. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much. And Sergeant Joseph, anything you would like to say?
No, I think the director has summed it up for us.
All right. What about you, Sergeant Libab? Anything you want to close off with?
Yes, Sergeant Joycelyn Libab, Commander of the Motor Carrier Unit, St. Thomas St. John. For my commercial vehicle operators and owners, please have your operators know that Veterans Drive is 10 miles per hour and it's not a racetrack, and for them to buckle up. We are going to be out there. And one more thing, take your tints off your windshield. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll take a 2 minutes recess to discuss this measure and then come back and vote on it. The Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance. Of course, the testifiers are dismissed, but we'll take a 2 minutes recess. The Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance is out of recess and back on record. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Senator Viola, you recommend a motion or amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Amendment. I move amendment number 36-701. Bill number 36-0198, Section 1, is amended by adding subsection C, D, and E. C, on page 13 in OG 800, Department of Planning and Natural Resources. 1, insert the following line item under Utilities. Division of Permits Personnel, 600,000. 2, strike 6,068,164 and insert 6,668,164. And 3, strike 7,009,487 and insert 7,609,487. D, on page 15 in subtotal general fund, strike 684,841,974 and insert 685,441,974. And on page 15 in grand total general fund, strike 738,601,274 and insert 739,201,274. I so move. I so move.
Second.
Motion properly made by Senator Viola, seconded by Senator Frederick. Hearing no objection. So ordered.
Motion.
Motion, Senator Viola, recognize your motion.
Mr. Chair, I move Bill number 36-0198, an act amending Act number 9035 by redesignating the funding source for several entities and correcting a typographical error and amending Act number 9045 by inserting and striking appropriations as amended. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Motion properly made by Senator Viola, seconded by Senator Frederick. I see Senator DeGraff. No?
Blyden.
Second, Blyden too.
Senator Marvin A. Blyden.
Media, I'm not hearing. The clerk.
Senator Marvin A. Blyden. Senator Blyden, yay. Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff.
Yes.
Senator DeGraff, yay. Senator Ray Fonseca.
Yay.
Senator Fonseca, yay. Senator Novelli Francis Jr.
Yay.
Senator Francis Jr., yay. Senator Hubert L. Frederick.
Yes.
Senator Frederick, yay. Senator Maurice C. James. Senator James, absent. Senator Kurt A. Vele.
Yes.
Senator Vele, yay. Mr. Chair, 6 yay, 1 absent.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Bill number 36-0198, an act amending Act 9035 by redesignating the fund source for several entities and correcting a typographical error and amending Act number 9045 by inserting and striking appropriations as amended have been approved by the Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance. It will be sent forward to the Rules and Judiciary Committee for further consideration and vetting.
Motion.
Technical.
Motion, Senator DeGraff, you recognize?
Motion. Thank you, Mr. Fonseca.
Motion, Senator Fonseca. We have a technical amendment also in that measure. So go ahead, you recognize for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move Bill number 36-0221, an act amending Title 20 Virgin Islands Code, Part 2, Chapter 43.
One second, Senator. One second, Senator. We went on to Bill number 36-0219 at this time.
DeGraff.
If you're following the order, we're on to Bill number 36-0219.
No.
Please withdraw your motion at this time.
Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Technical amendment, Senator Viola recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move a technical amendment of Bill number 36-0219, Section 2. strike January, insert October. I so move.
Second.
Motion for a tactical amendment has been made by Senator Viale in respect to bill number 36-0219, seconded by Senator Hubert Frederick,
Second.
and as well as Senator Fonseca. Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Motion.
Senator Viale, you recognize your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that bill number 36-0219, an act amending Title 22 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 21, relating to the Virgin Islands Producer and Adjuster Licensing Act by modifying renewal provisions for insurance producer licenses as amended, be receive a favorable vote in this committee and be sent to the Committee of Rules and Judiciary for further consideration. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Motion properly made by Senator Viale, seconded by Senator Frederick, Senator Blyden, Senator Fonseca, Senator De Graaf. Hearing no objection, roll call.
Senator Marvin A. Blyden. Senator Blyden, yea. Senator Dwayne M. De Graaf. Senator De Graaf, yea. Senator Ray Fonseca.
Yea.
Senator Fonseca, yea. Senator Novelli Francis Jr.
Yea.
Senator Francis Jr., yea. Senator Hubert L. Frederick. Senator Frederick not voting. Senator Maurice C. James. Senator James absent. Senator Kurt A. Viale.
Yes.
Senator Viale, yea. Mr. Chair, 5 yea, 1 absent, 1 not voting.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Bill number 36-0219, an act amending Title 22 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 31, relating to the Virgin Islands Producer and Adjuster Licensing Act by modifying renewal provisions for insurance producers license as amended, has been approved by the Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance and will be sent forward to the Rules and Judiciary Committee for further consideration and vetting.
Motion.
Motion, Senator Fonseca, you recognize for your motion.
Mr. Chair, I move bill number 36-0221, an act amending Title 20 Virgin Islands Code, Part 2, Chapter 43, Subchapter 1, Section 493, relating to alcohol consumption and to establish the Impaired Driving and Highway Sobriety Checkpoint Program Safety Fund, be held in the Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance for further review and action. I so move.
Second.
Motion properly made by Senator Fonseca, seconded by Senator Blyden and Senator De Graaf. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Bill 36-0221 will be held in committee until the call of the chair. I want to certainly thank everyone that participated in today's hearing. I'm sorry?
Roll call.
No roll call. No roll call necessary is a request to be held in committee. So I bang the gavel and on that matter at the call of the chair. At this time, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation today. Thank the entire central staff. Thank all that supported this meeting. Of course, tomorrow we do have a perma-plaque ceremony. I want to congratulate the ladies of the St. Croix Delta Sigma Theater chapter and families of the late Alicia Chucky Hansen, as well as the late Sonia Hugh, creator of the original hook bracelet, who will receive the perma-plaque ceremony. Perma-plaques at St. Croix ceremony scheduled for Wednesday, February 4th. Also want to congratulate those who will be honored on Friday, perma-plaque ceremony at St. Thomas, Ranel Slimo Blyden, posthumously, Myron Corbett, posthumously, as well as Joel Turnbull Molloy, Raymond Molloy, as well as Arthur Gutu Solomon, Georgia Francis, Brian Benidimas Bula, as well as James Sasso. Again, thank you all for today's hearing. The Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance having no further business. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you very much.